In a world filled with powerful mages and demons, meet Fleo, the man with infinite powers capable of destroying an entire army. He goes through life gathering beautiful maidens and fulfilling his harem fantasy, while learning to use the highest order of magic within the realm. In a remote town, demons were being forced to work by a sadistic man, while a weird shorty named Bonza was treating them with humility and kindness. After giving him some cash, the foolish demon tried refusing, until he laid his eyes on an adorable cutie, of course, who could say no to her. All of a sudden, Bonza was teleported to another world and found himself amidst fanatic priests ready to sacrifice him on the altar. In other words, they were looking for a hero candidate to potentially save them from the demon lord. The typical Isekai format. Unlike Rimuru, however, the moment he tested his power level, the results were quite disappointing to say the least. Basically, a worthless user with no divine blessings. The mages considered his summoning a waste of their time and started bad-mouthing him like he wasn't there. Beside him, a cool-looking Giga Chad broke the record with his stats. What an unexpected turn of events. Everyone crowded him and started pleading for his help. The king welcomed him as the golden hair hero while Bonza Boy was left to rot. The following day, they shoved him inside a carriage like an Amazon package, and it was revealed that the king and his people weren't able to return him to his home. As such, they had to discard him before people found out about this useless failure of a summon. Ouch, that ought to hurt. Bonza tried chatting with the lizard driver, who gave him a mean attitude. He asked him if demi-humans were slaves here. However, the lizard laughed at his question and scoffed his existence. Not the ideal first impression, if you ask me. Bonza was given the silent treatment, and after a few days of journey, he was dropped in the middle of nowhere. Isn't this a bit harsh for a newbie? Well, at least he received a bag from the king. It was meant to serve as an endless pouch, which should come in handy for an RPG game. After unlocking it, he noticed a few items inside, including a sword he used to confront the aggressive slimes. As expected, his victory allowed him to level up and unlock new traits. This included a voice-guided system. This is starting to sound like solo leveling, and that time I got reincarnated as a slime. After breaking the curse on the bag, he was in full control of the items. The system then warned him not to enter the forest due to a malicious poison released by the pesky demons. She asked him if he wanted to purify it, and he gave up 1/3 of his magic to completely erase all signs of evil within the forest. Are you sure this guy was a level 1 rookie? Elsewhere, the princess tried confronting her father about Bonza's situation. She deemed it unjust, and her conversation was interrupted by a mage who revealed the cleansing of the forest. Healing magic was considered among the highest magic, and the king was surprised to hear the outcast was responsible. It seems Bonza leveled up to 367 in an instant after releasing the holy magic. How is this even possible? This is starting to sound like a cheat code. He even possessed regeneration. Oh man, this guy is going to end up becoming a monster. These isekai protagonists, I tell you, there's something else. The system added more fuel to the fire by granting him shape-shifting abilities, and boy oh boy did he land gold. Wait a minute, why didn't he stick with the hot bod? Afterward, he used teleportation magic to return to the capital. Now this is getting out of hand. What else are they going to provide him? Elemental magic. Soon enough, Bonza started walking through the market and decided to become an adventurer to earn some cash. The guild welcomed him, and this guy was left paralyzed by the clerk's beauty. He registered under the name Fleo and saw an adorable girl asking for help. Everyone shunned her request and brushed her aside. However, the hero decided to save the damsel in distress and volunteered to help for free. An honorable knight named Balarasa threatened to chop off his head, assuming he was a deranged perv, that is. She was disgusted by his lies, since he claimed he could use teleportation magic, which was also considered as a top-tier magic. Her friends came by to apprehend him, and Fleo tried talking his way out of this debacle. He suggested they tag along and see for themselves. After taking them to the back alley, he used his teleportation to take them to the desired destination. Afterward, they apologized for their insolence, while the little girl started acting like a fool. Balarasa then threatened to cut the little girl down, since she was a demon in disguise. They surrounded her, and she finally revealed her true colors. After transforming into a gigantic werewolf, or as they called it, a lupin, everyone was defeated by the toxic poison she excreted. Fleo used his teleportation to send the ladies away, and now that he was face to face with the horrendous beast, he decided to end things once and for all. With a bunch of active spells, he used teleportation magic followed by an earth defense and tornado spell. He then ended things with a gravitational spell crushing the lupin. The system then advised using subjugation magic, but after remembering his old life, he decided to use something else. The lupin was fighting back with her negation abilities, and it was only a matter of time until she freed herself. Fleo refused to use subjugation since he was against the concept of slavery. Afterward, the lupin submitted, and the naive idiot decided to let her go. Doesn't he know she's part of the demon army regardless? His words touched her, and she transformed to her human form. Her sexy adult human form, that is. Why did he cover her up? This guy is a party pooper. the former demon ended up falling asleep while he was stuck browsing through his abilities. As soon as she woke up, she started contemplating how powerful he actually was. He then called her by the name Fenris. She decided then and there to serve him, since she admired his kindness and strength. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the start of his incredible journey towards obtaining a harem. You can tell in his eyes that he was enjoying her plea. Her eyes were too cute to resist, and her adorable face was scrumptious to behold. Afterward, he confessed how he wasn't from this world, and how the atrocious king dumped him here against his will. He even revealed his true form to her, and as expected, she tried empathizing with his cause. Since she considered him as her master, she vowed to dedicate her life and soul to serving him. Isn't that what every husband wants to hear? Elsewhere, the king confronted the so-called golden hero about his first failed mission. The douche tried to criticize the soldiers and blame them for his hiccup. Anyone can tell that this guy was full of shit. I mean, look at him. Even the king's general called him a buffon for running away like a coward. He sure was a phony. Even so, his servant was absolutely fabulous. Meanwhile, Fleo and Fenris went to the market looking for a couple of items, and he suggested acting like a married couple to avoid unnecessary attention. That's hook, line, and sinker for you. He then helped her sign up, and she was now an official adventurer. Afterward, they went to the board to look for jobs, and suddenly, an urgent request came along. The guild was willing to double the rewards, and Fenris suggested heading over to check things out. She must be trying to prove herself to him. They heard a bunch of adventurers crying, and it happened to be the same crew he met back then. He couldn't stand idle and watch the bears tear them apart. Thus, he struck them all down with his lightning bolt, and Fenris got rid of Winnie the Pooh on her own. As expected, the crew started thanking him for saving them. And this is flattery was starting to sound sus, if you know what I mean. I'm guessing the girls took a shine to him. He then introduced Fenris to the beautiful ladies when another bear tried attacking the wrong Lupin. The big bad bear ended up groveling on its knees and begging for dear life. The ladies were shaking in their boots at the very thought of it, and Fleo used his shape-shifting skill to turn it into an adorable-looking creature. It looked like a bunny with unicorn horns. Soon after, they took him back home and introduced themselves to him. After all, it's necessary to know the names of all your wives, right? His destined brides then asked him to train them in hopes of growing stronger. A peculiar request, but necessary since the king was looking for formidable warriors to join his mission. The ladies desired to serve the royalty, and this clashed against his interest in Fenris, who seemed envious. Luckily, she agreed on training them while blushing like a plum tomato. The ladies seemed adamant, and Fleo's hands were tied. Since the forest was dangerous, they made this their new home. Elsewhere, the Demon King's subordinate submitted her report about the new intruder, and he gave the orders to capture him. The following morning, Fleo was awoken by a pleasant surprise. She had confessed her love to him the previous day and asked to sleep with him, but our wimpy diary kid chickened out as usual. Is this guy 13 or something, or is he Amish? Balarasa then interrupted their wholesome moment and went out to fight a mean-looking boar. She talked a big game until the boar started chasing them down. Even after teaming up, they stood no chance against the furious monster. Afterward, they decided to rest up a bit, and Fleo told them to make themselves at home. Fenris, on the other hand, served them raw meat. Her demonic habits still haunt her apparently. Everyone was weirded out and tried to play it cool without hurting her feelings. Fleo cooked it up real nice and everything looked delicious. Balarasa blushed when he complimented her, and they proceeded to dig in. Fenris complained like a bored housewife until she took a bite, glad to see she stood corrected. This poor thing, is this the first cooked meal she's had in her life? Back at the guild, people were bad-mouthing them for bringing in all their hunts and taking all the loot. Quite the sore losers, aren't they? Fenris then asked to go on a walk while the representative of the guild asked to talk to Fleo. He started praising the little brat for his achievements and requested him to join the king's conquest on behalf of the guild. As innocent as this guy seems, I fear he is motivated by greed. Fleo had his doubts about the whole situation, but thought it would be a great opportunity to gain some exposure and save those in need. Who knew this guy was a goody two-shoes? Oh wait, did he actually decline after all that? He then met up with Fenris, who seemed like she received a thrashing. However, she simply attended a cooking class in hopes of elevating her technique and becoming the model wife. So basically, a wonderful pick-me girl, what's not to like? She failed in every possible endeavor though. And later that night, the Golden Douche was crowded by flocks of beautiful concubines. Does this guy have a harem already? What a lucky chap. The king's soldiers, however, kept on bothering Fleo to join them, unbeknownst to them that he's the hero they dumped. Fenris seemed upset, whilst the rest of the ladies were working hard to make ends meet and prove their worth. Fenris asked one of them to practice her shooting on moving targets, while Fleo gave the mage a magical ring to boost her powers. Balarasa, on the other hand, was having troubles dealing with a monster, until Fenris interrupted and scolded her feeble efforts. This girl was sure defensive of her husband. Once the training was done, Fenris cooked an appetizing meal and left everyone shocked at the remarkable progress she has shown. Way to go, sis, she tried her best and actually succeeded. The easiest way to a man's heart is through his belly. Meanwhile, another Lupin named Yulai was caught snooping, and she confessed her mission to Fleo. After hearing Fenris was engaged, she lost it and started throwing a hissy fit. Was it jealousy? Yulai then freaked out after hearing Fleo was capable of using purification magic. It must be super rare if she was losing her shit. It seems his purification magic wiped out a whole brigade, including Fenris' brother. Even so, she was unbothered by the death of her sibling, since she vowed to serve Fleo. Just then, the curious kittens were caught snooping around and overheard Fenris' secret. Yulai then challenged Fleo to a battle, Mortal Kombat style. She is barking up the wrong tree. She leaped into action and used her dark magic to incapacitate the poor fellow. However, using binding magic, he easily defeated her. He then apologized to the ladies for hiding Fenris' secret, and she spoke to them wholesomely to accept her. After all that has happened, they actually liked her a lot and refused to snitch on her no matter what. Soon after, Yulai came back with a horde of dragons to scare Fleo into submission. Unfortunately for her, the plan backfired and Fleo used holy magic to strike them all down in one go. God damn, how powerful is this man? Should we start including him in the power scale debate? Power, wealth, and women? He sure is living his best life. The following day, he placed a barrier around the house to thwart any demon intervention. Specifically, Yulai and her fixation over Fleo. Is she also obsessed with him? He must have charmed these two innocent demons, to be honest. The ladies, however, were stuck daydreaming about their increased stats. This whole experience must be new to them. Belittersaw decided to head out to increase hers and beat the rest. Her desire to level up was interrupted by a stranger looking for Fenris. As expected, she wasn't about to let this slide and unsheath her sword to face him in battle. Seeing her resolve, he chickened out and didn't want the smoke. Afterward, Fleo and Fenris came to her rescue and informed her how he was known as the Dark One. This left Rosa in shock since she was almost obliterated by the Dark One. Later on, he visited their home to have a chat and the whole incident seemed a tad bit too casual. His aura was quite menacing, but they seemed chill in spite of the looming danger. The Dark One offered Fleo a job in his army, and after refusing, he decided to explain the details of the war to him. It all started 500 years, when the first Dark Lord appeared out of nowhere, another isekai antagonist, I suppose. After 12 generations of Dark Ones, this one tried flexing his power and revealed his true form in hopes of scaring him off. However, he failed to persuade him and left without saying another word. Valorosa was shocked to the core and ended up falling asleep. The next day, the Dark One came back again and made himself at home. Since when did demons and humans become friends? Soon after, he started following her around everywhere. Does he have a crush on her or something? Elsewhere, the king received reports about the Dark One's frequent visitation to Fleo, and this infuriated the worthless piece of excrement to the core. Had it not been for the shrewd princess, he was about to attack Fleo out of sheer ignorance. However, the golden douche provoked him to attack. Meanwhile, the Dark One was interrogated by Yulai about his relationship with Fleo. Who does this weak brat think she is? Fleo, on the other hand, was trying to open his own business since funds were a bit dried up lately. All that power and he still remains a broke fool. Oh, the irony of life. Fenris tried convincing him to side with the king for the reward and status, but he wasn't about that life. Soon after, they went out and met the golden douche alongside his army. He tried forcing Fleo into submission and made the worst mistake in his life. As he continued yapping, Fleo blatantly rejected his offer and the ladies tried backing him up. Since negotiations took a wrong turn, Fleo decided to go all out and show everyone who is boss. What was he going to do? Wait a minute, did he seriously use teleportation magic to escape? Well, that was anticlimactic. And to make matters worse for the army, the Dark One showed up and let out his rage. He transformed and summoned his dark army after giving them the command to attack. Fleo ended up teleporting to the middle of nowhere, and things seemed quite peaceful here. Was this a smart move or was he a coward for fleeing from the scene of battle? Meanwhile, the demonic army were ravishing the land and laying waste to everything in sight. None were safe from their tyranny and the whole country fell into peril. The king was told of the dire circumstances and the fool was still adamant about using the worthless hero. The mages tried advising him, but his ears were clogged with bullcrap all over. The Dark One, however, caught wind of the purification spell they were about to use and commanded his troops to retreat. Soon after, a bunch of mages and the king joined hands to unleash a purification spell weaker than the one Fleo used. Speaking of the devil, my man was head over heels over his new concubine and the 4 handymaids. Are they trying to live a peaceful, mundane life while everyone suffers from the war? Have they no shame or compassion? It seems they're worried about making money, while the castle was worried about the ticking time bomb. Since the purification only lasted 3 months, they needed to come up with a solution and fast. The consequences of using the purification spell left a bunch of mages, including the king, debilitated and bedridden. Was it really that difficult? Since the king was out of the picture, the princess took command and gave a royal decree for the douche to resign. So much for a cowardly hero who fled from the scene of the crime. The douche was shocked to the core. Serves him right, if you ask me. Fleo, on the other hand, gave Fenris some words of encouragement. I'm telling you, this guy is secretly a huge simp. The next day, the ladies suggested they go on a date, and Fenris made it sound romantic. They had a wonderful day and enjoyed their time to the fullest. From demonic monster to loyal housewife, who would have thought? Fleo pampered her throughout the day and even bought her an expensive necklace. Back at the hut, the ladies couldn't contain their envy, and Fenris decided to exercise her lust. She kept on cuddling with him nonstop. The douche, however, was receiving a mouthful from the devious handmaiden. I feel like she was playing with him, and he was foolish enough to believe it. Suddenly, he heard a dark, sinister voice calling out to him, and he was provoked to draw the sword of darkness, which unleashed a furious whirlwind. A genie appeared and asked him to make a wish. 3 wishes as usual. Elsewhere, the princess called upon the mystical oracle for counseling. Suddenly, a bracelet was placed upon everyone, and the oracle identified it as the collar of sacrifice. The princess realized how bad things were, and the oracle decided to use her prophecy to reveal the only viable solution. She told them to look for Fleo, and the princess volunteered to head there. Meanwhile, Fleo sold his first armor and was feeling really good about himself. Fenris was spying on him alongside Balarasa, who was overly protective of her husband. Fleo showed his gratitude to the ladies, and they decided to head back to the hut. Fenris asked to help out as much as she could, but her conversations were cut short by the genie who was sent to kill Fleo. Did the douche really wish for his death? As she was about to slash him, Fenris tried protecting him and took a lethal hit. The genie continued to blow up the town and make a ruckus throughout. His healing magic didn't work due to the severity of the wound, and as he bid his lover goodbye, the genie unleashed hell upon him. Oh boy. Are we about to see the real anger of Fleo? He starts seeing flashbacks of Fenris and realizes he loved her all along. A tad bit too late, buddy. Oh wait, did he just rewind time? How is he even capable of that? It seems the genie messed with the wrong isekai protagonist. No matter how hard she tried, nothing worked, and she realized his skills and stat level were infinite. Aha, I see. So he's one of those. He started pummeling the poor demon to a pulp while the newly awakened Fenris cheered him on. She worried for his sake since he was going too far. The genie tried begging for life, but alas, her plea fell on deaf ears until Fenris showed up and begged him to stop. She tried giving a sob story and cried her eyes out. Wait a minute, did he really stop? What's with this guy and his pathetic outlook? That was boring to watch. The princess then teleported near their town since the mages were too feeble to triangulate his exact coordinates. Just then, the collars broke off, indicating the death of the genie. Back at the castle, the guards were about to ambush the douche and his hopeless damsel, who was suddenly possessed by a dark spirit. Oh wait, was it the genie? Damn, she looked mad fine. Wait, it was another dark spirit of the past, a grand magus who was trapped by the genie. He ended up transforming the douchey into a wild beast and laughed at his miserable fortune. Elsewhere, the genie woke up from her deep slumber and continued to plead with Fleo and the rest. They didn't know what to do with her until Fleo looked into her memories using telepathy. How many abilities does this guy truly possess? As always, Fenris came to his aid and started scolding the old witch. However, she showed some kindness and decided to take the genie in as their servant. Quite the bold statement from someone who was almost killed. I'm certain this little fluffy demon isn't in her right mind. Nor's Fleo, who offered his assistance to the genie who almost brought about his downfall. With a sudden change of heart, the genie confessed her submission and servitude towards the new master. All hail Fleo the Great, the one who has convinced a powerful genie to bend the knee. Since the town was destroyed, Fleo thought of fixing it up using time magic, but the genie adamantly forbade this, implying that time magic has a lot of repercussions. She told him how he possessed an ability called Epiphany, and is the reason he is able to duplicate spells used on him. So that's the name of the cheat code he was using. Afterwards, they headed back home, and the genie introduced herself as Haya. The ladies were trembling in their boots at the very thought of a genie in their house, but Balarasa helped calm them down. One more beautiful lady added to his harem list though. Later on, Fleo was interrupted by Balarasa, who wanted to have a chat about the incident that went down earlier. They were all afraid for their lives, but felt a sigh of relief knowing Fleo was on their side. Her speech helped alleviate his concerns, and he went back to Fenris, who seemed super horny this time around. I'm guessing the brush with death aroused her hormones. Just do it already. What is this guy waiting for? Wedding vows? Oh wait, I think he's going to do it. No, the genie had to ruin their wholesome moment. Fleo screamed at her and Fenris was about to rip her limb to limb. The princess, however, was going around town asking people about Fleo. Unfortunately for her, no one snitched on our boy. Meanwhile, Haya and Fenris cooked a scrumptious meal and had everyone gasping for air. The ladies were worried about this change, since they started feeling useless. Fleo didn't seem bothered though. The ladies tried their best to earn their stay and prove their worth doing all the house chores by themselves. the mage was finding a hard time fitting in and was beating herself up. Soon after, a wild horse started ravaging their field until the heroic mage stepped in. Looks like she wasn't a useless brat after all. But it still wasn't sufficient to tame the horse until the archer stepped up. Meanwhile, Fleo and Fenris were walked around town, parading their wholesome bond. Bunch of show-offs, Fleo sold some quality material for valuable gems and was feeling good until the day turned to night. The horrific douche-turned monster dropped down alongside the gorgeous empress. The genie came to their rescue and revealed how the monster was actually a human. She must sense the witch's diabolical evil. Did these two share a history? In the past, the witch used to dabble in dark magic until she was struck down by the hero. She was then sealed alongside the genie and broke free when the douche decided to play Arthur and pull the sword. Since the genie felt bad, she asked Fleo to defeat her with his permission. Quite the obedient little puppy we got here, huh? In the meantime, the princess was shaking in her boots, while the mage looked absolutely stunning. Luckily, the genie came to her aid and a fierce battle was underway. Who are you rooting for? My money is on the genie. As expected, she was making a mockery out of her and even dispatched the ugly monster with ease. The witch grew restless and decided to use dark magic, a forbidden spell that empowered the monster, making him as powerful as Prime Godzilla. Unfortunately, Fleo broke the curse in an instant, prompting Hiya to apologize for her negligence. The witch started panicking and was instantly sealed and swallowed like candy. How unfortunate. Fenris complimented her power and the princess finally found her charming. After introducing herself, she pleaded for his assistance and apologized for the previous mishap the king committed. Promising him a new future, she humbly requested his service. However, this pompous goody two-shoes refused and went back home. What's this guy's problem? Is he really in love with these ladies in his home? Who could blame him for wanting to protect his harem? I know I won't. The ladies then suggested expanding the farm, and Fleo was all for it, since they needed the money and it would also give the ladies some responsibility and alleviate their boredom. After he gave them the green light, they went straight to work and wasted no time. Fleo insisted on using magic to hasten the process, but they refused. However, Hiya came by and offered her magical assistance on the process. They were all curious to see what would come of it and decided to give it a try after discussing the matter with everyone involved. These guys trusted one another, and their bond was stronger than ever. If you like this anime recap, please make sure to subscribe for part 2. And make sure to check out our brand new anime recaps.